As an audience, there are a few things we expect to see when watching a film. One of these is the sense of losing your own reality, while we are drawn into the fictional world the film director has created. However, breaking the fourth wall does the opposite of this.
I lost. Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose. Let me see the script.
It reminds us that we are actually an audience member paying to watch what is happening on screen. Because of this, it is one of the most unique tools a director has at their disposal.
Okay, you guys, listen up. People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth. Do I have to come up there myself? Do you think the Grimsters can stand up to the Hulkster? Well, if I were you, I'd run the rest of Gremlins 2 right now.
Sorry, folks. It won't happen again.
To really understand the power of the fourth wall in relation to visual storytelling, I will first look back at its origins in theatrical performance. A simple definition of breaking the fourth wall would be the breaching of the separation between art and audience. This concept first emerged in the early 19th century, referring to the box sets that actors would perform in whilst on stage. These box sets would divide the stage into 3 walls of a room. Whilst the fourth wall is an invisible for the audience to see through, a long tradition of actors directly addressing the audience whilst in character led to the concept of the fourth wall. In films today, this concept still stands, with the invisible wall being the camera's lens.
Why would anyone want this shit job?
Because it affords them other interesting opportunities.
Whilst there are many contemporary films and TV shows that use this technique as a major storytelling device, it is hardly a new concept. One of the earliest examples of the technique's use in cinema is from the 1903 film The Great Train Robbery, with the famous final image of the train robber directly shooting at the audience. For this video essay, I'll be looking at 2 genres of film that I feel use the technique the most, the first of which is comedy. Most of the time, a fourth wall break in the comedy genre is just to poke fun at the presence of the camera. Some characters appear to have an awareness of the construction of the film that is similar to the audience. Most of the time, this doesn't work. Here are a few examples.
Well, that's where I see things just a little differently. Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
I suggest you don't worry about this sort of thing and just enjoy yourself. That goes for you all, too. Yes.
Jay and Silent Bob movie? Who would pay to see that?
For the joke to work, the character has to step out of the context of the film momentarily to deliver a line. The remainder of the jokes have to be delivered within the imaginary confines of the narrative. The core of the joke, therefore, is the only that the character has taken to step out of the narrative, and this is what's supposed to make the joke satisfying and creative. However, the fourth wall in comedy doesn't make an individual a comedic genius, or even remotely funny. The setup has to creep upon the audience, or else the punchline would just come off lazy.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the middle of the film.
Audiences are now over the technique, and it is no longer a novelty. Postmodernism is a movement related to the arts in the 20th century. Postmodernistic films are known to challenge the mainstream conventions of narrative structure and characterization, whilst also destroying the audience's suspension of disbelief in order to create a work that is less recognizable in the internal logic that traditional films build.
Okay, that was the test run. Now we're gonna go for the Olympic gold.
Woody Allen is one of the most famous directors to use this style in his films. Allen's films reflect on postmodernism by using unconventional techniques such as direct address to the camera or the audience, which help to convey the unique style. His films are also known to maintain conventional continuity elements to help keep the audience interested and orient them in a fictional world of the film. When he uses direct address within the confines of the film, He leaves the scene for a second and talks to the audience without other characters in the scene knowing that he has left. This leads to some interesting scenes.
I can't believe this family. Annie's mother is really beautiful. And they're talking swap meets and boat basins, and the old lady at the end of the table is a classic Jew hater. And they really look American, you know, very healthy. They're like they never get sick or anything. Nothing like my family. You know, the two are like oil and water.
Let him drop dead. Who needs his business?
His wife has diabetes.
Diabetes?
Jack Adams
Is that
is
an
the new
excuse,
president.
diabetes?
Let me.
Another director of comedy is Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks takes his style even further by often references that his films are films. Examples of this include characters talking about the script and anticipating future events as they happen. A particular good example of breaking the fourth wall can be found in his film Blazing Saddles, which pokes fun at the Western genre. He portrays an unrealism of Western films to remind the audience that we are watching a dramatised film and not reality. In general, breaking the fourth wall often serves the purpose of disrupting the narrative flow, reminding us that we are indeed watching a film. There is a separate theory that relates to this called suture.
Cold. Cold. Warmer. Warm. Cold.
This theory relates to the manipulation of the audience into forgetting about the camera and believing what they are watching is real. Laura Mulvey argues that there are three looks to the camera implied by the film. The first is the look of the camera, the second is the look of the audience, and the third is the look of the characters on screen. She is essentially implying that as an audience we are ingrained into the fabric of the film. We believe that what we are seeing is true and that we can relate to the fictional characters on a real level. Generally, this theory is a non-issue. However, when films draw audiences into an important social message or political or something completely formal, the notion of suture can become a problem if the ideas within a film changes the audience's beliefs in a negative way. Outside of the comedy genre, breaking the fourth wall can be used as a plot device to move the story forward. It can give audiences insight into characters' motivations and behaviour. One example of this is in the film The Wolf of Wall Street, which uses Leonardo DiCaprio's seductive and charismatic direct address to the audience to make the horrifying behaviour of the character appealing to an audience. The character is morally bankrupt. The character does terrible things and often ruins lives, friends and family around him, and many innocent people. However, what might seem unforgivable when viewed in reality, this appears exciting, dangerous and therefore somehow appealing to the audience, who have become involved and engaged into the character through the use of direct address. Breaking the fourth wall is a flexible, artistic device that can be used to distance audiences from the story or draw them in closer. Originally used as an experimental technique by independent filmmakers to explore the construction of narrative, filmmaking and its power, and it can influence over audiences. Now its use is mainly for aesthetic or dramatic purposes, and it has often become part of the mainstream. Whatever its ultimate goal, breaking the fourth wall will always remind us that we are in the process of viewing and participating in the telling of a story.